Hello, and welcome back to Story Time with Eric Zimmer, where we last left off in the wonderful story of Henry Sugar. Imrat Khan, the Indian man who can see without his eyes, has been retelling his story to Dr. John F. Cartwright, who is writing this story in the handbook that's being read by Henry Sugar himself. We've learned that Imrat Khan has met a great yogi who has given him instructions to see another man who might take him on as a disciple, since Banerjee cannot take Imrat Khan as a disciple himself. Now this is where it truly gets interesting. You ready? Sure? Alright, let's begin. Chapter 5. Imrat Khan paused and asked me if he might have a glass of water. I fetched it for him. He took a long, slow drink, and he went on with his story. This is in 1922, and I am nearly 17 years old, so I go to Hardaware. There I find the yogi, and because I have a letter from the great Banerjee, he consents to give me instruction. Now what is this instruction? It is, of course, the critical part of the whole thing. It is what I have been yearning for and searching for, so you can be sure I am an eager pupil. The first instruction, the most elementary part, consists of having to practice the most difficult physical exercises, all of them concerned with muscle control and breathing. But after some weeks of this, even the eager pupil becomes impatient. I tell the yogi that it is my mental powers I wish to develop, not my physical ones. He replies, "If you will develop control of your body, then the control of your mind will be an automatic thing. But I want both at once." And I keep asking him, and in the end he says, "Very well, I will give you some exercises to help you concentrate the conscious mind." "Conscious mind?" I ask. "Why do you say conscious mind?" "Because each man has two minds, the conscious and the subconscious. The subconscious mind is highly concentrated, but the conscious mind, the one everyone uses, is a scattered, unconcentrated thing. It is concerning itself with thousands of different items, the things you are seeing around you and the things you are thinking about. So you must learn to concentrate it in such a way that you can visualize at will one item only and absolutely nothing else. If you work hard at this, you should be able to concentrate your mind, your conscious mind, upon any one object you select for at least 3.5 minutes. But that will take about 15 years. 15 years, I cry. It may take longer, he says. 15 years is the usual time. But I will be an old man by then. No, you'd be 32 by then. But do not despair, the yogi says. The time varies with different people. Some take 10 years, a few can take less, and on extremely rare occasions a special person comes along who is able to develop the power in only 1 or 2 years. But that is 1 in a million. Who are these special people, I ask? Do they look different from other people? They look the same, he says. A special person might be a humble road sweeper or a factory worker, or he might be a Raja. There is no way of telling until the training begins. Is it really so difficult, I ask, to concentrate the mind upon a single object for 3.5 minutes? It is almost impossible, he answers. Try it and see. Shut your eyes and think of something. Think of just one object. Visualize it. See it before you. And in a few seconds your mind will start wandering. Other little thoughts will creep in. Other visions will come to you. It is a very difficult thing. Thus spoke the yogi of Hardaware. So my real exercises begin. Each evening I sit down and close my eyes and visualize the face of the person I love best, which is my brother. I concentrate upon visualizing his face, but the instant my mind begins to wander, I stop the exercise and rest for some minutes. Then I try again. After 3 years of daily practice, I am able to concentrate absolutely upon my brother's face for 1.5 minutes. I am making progress, but an interesting thing happens. In doing these exercises, I lose my sense of smell absolutely, and never to this day does it come back to me. Then the necessity for earning my living to buy food forces me to leave Hardaware. I go to Calcutta, where the are greater opportunities, and there I soon begin to make quite good money by giving conjuring performances. But I always continue with the exercises. Every evening, wherever I am, I settle myself down in a corner and practice the concentrating of the mind upon my brother's face. Occasionally I choose something not so personal, like, for example, an orange or a pair of spectacles, and that makes it even more difficult. One day I traveled from Calcutta to Dhaka in East Bengal to give a conjuring show at a college there. And while in Dhaka, I happened to be present at a demonstration of walking on fire. There are many people watching. There is a big trench dug at the bottom of a sloping lawn. The spectators are sitting by the hundreds upon the slopes of the lawn, looking down upon the trench. The trench is about 25 feet long. It has been filled with logs and firewood and charcoal, and a lot of paraffin has been poured on it. The paraffin has been lit, and after a while the whole trench has become a smoldering hot furnace. It is so hot that the men who are stoking it are obliged to wear goggles. There is a high wind, and the wind fans the charcoal almost to white heat. The Indian firewalker then comes forward. He is naked except for a small loincloth, and his feet are bare. The crowd becomes silent. The firewalker enters the trench and walks the whole length of it, over the white-hot charcoal. He doesn't stop, nor does he hurry. He simply walks over the white-hot coals and comes out at the other end, and his feet are not even singed. He shows the soles of his feet to the crowd. The crowd stares in amazement. Then the firewalker walks the trench once more. This time he goes even slower, and as he does it, I can see on his face a look of pure and absolute concentration. This man, I tell myself, has practiced yoga. He is a yogi. After the performance, the firewalker calls out to the crowd, asking if there is anyone brave enough to come down and walk on the fire. Uh-oh. There is a hush in the crowd. I feel a sudden urge of excitement in my chest. This is my chance. I must take it. I must have faith and courage. I must try it. I've been doing my concentration exercises for over 3 years now, and the time has come to give myself a severe test. Uh-oh. While I am standing there, thinking these thoughts, a volunteer comes forward from the crowd. It is a young Indian man. He announces that he would like to try the firewalk. This decides me, and I also step forward and make my announcement. The crowd gives us both a cheer. Now the real firewalker becomes the supervisor. He tells the other man he will go first. He makes him remove his dhoti, otherwise he says the hem will catch fire from the heat, and the sandals must be taken off. The young Indian does what he is told, but now that he is close to the trench and can feel the terrible heat coming from it, he begins to look frightened. He steps back a few paces, shielding his eyes from the heat with his hands. You don't have to do it if you don't want to, the real firewalker says. The crowd waits and watches, sensing a drama. The young man, though scared out of his wits, wishes to prove how brave he is, and he says, "Of course I'll do it." With that, he runs forward. He runs towards the trench. He steps into it with one foot, then the other. He gives a fearful scream and leaps out again and falls to the ground. The poor man lies there screaming in pain. The soles of his feet are badly burnt, and some of the skin has come out right away. Oh my God! 2 of his friends run forward and carry him off. Now it is your turn, says the firewalker. Are you ready? I am ready, I say, but please be silent while I prepare myself. A great hush has come over the crowd. They have seen one man get badly burned. Is the second one going to be mad enough to do the same thing? Someone in the crowd shouts, "Don't do it! You must be mad!" Others take up the shout, all telling me to give up. I turn and face them and raise my hands for silence. They stop shouting and stare at me. Every eye in that place is upon me now. I feel extraordinarily calm. I pull my dhoti off over my head. I take off my sandals. I stand there naked except for my underpants. I stand very still and close my eyes. I begin to concentrate my mind. I concentrate on the fire. I see nothing but the white-hot coals, and I concentrate on them being not hot, but cold. The coals are cold, I tell myself. They cannot burn me. It is impossible for them to burn me, because there is no heat in them. I allow half a minute to go by. I know that I must not wait too long, because I am only able to concentrate absolutely upon any one thing for a minute and a half. I keep concentrating. I concentrate so hard that I go into a sort of trance. I step out onto the coals. I walk fairly fast the whole length of the trench, and behold, I am not burned. The crowd goes mad. They yell and cheer. The original firewalker rushes up to me and examines the soles of my feet. He can't believe what he sees. There's not a burn mark on them. "Aye!" he cries. "What is this? Are you a yogi?" "I am on the way, sir," I answer proudly. "I am well on the way." After that, I dress and leave quickly, avoiding the crowd. Of course, I am excited. "It is coming to me," I say. "Now at last the power is beginning to come." And all the time I am remembering something else. I am remembering a thing that the old yogi of hardware said to me. He said, "Certain holy people have been known to develop so great a concentration that they could see without using their eyes." I keep remembering that saying, and I keep longing for the power to do likewise myself. And after my success with the firewalking, I decide that I will concentrate everything upon this single aim: to see without the eyes. Chapter 6. For only the second time so far, Imrat Khan broke off his story. He took another sip of water. Then he leaned back in his chair and closed his eyes. "I am trying to get everything in correct order," he said. "I don't want to omit anything." "You're doing fine," I told him. "Carry on." "Very well," he said. "So I am sitting in Calcutta, and I have just had success with firewalking. And now I have decided to concentrate with all my energy on this one thing, which is to see without the eyes. The time has come, therefore, to make a slight change in the exercises. Each night, now I light a candle, and I begin by staring at the flame. A candle flame, you know, has 3 separate parts: the yellow at the top, the mauve lower down, and the black right inside. I place the candle 16 inches away from my face. The flame is absolutely level with my eyes. I must not be above or below. It must not be above or below. It must be dead level, because then I do not have to make even the tiniest little adjustment of the eye muscles by looking up or down. I settle myself comfortably, and I begin to stare at the black part of the flame, right in the center. All this is merely to concentrate my conscious mind, to empty it of everything around me. So I stare at the black spot in the flame until everything around me has disappeared and I can see nothing else. Then slowly I shut my eyes and begin to concentrate as usual upon one single object of my choice, which, as you know, is usually my brother's face. I do this every night before bed, and by 1929, when I am 24 years old, I can concentrate upon an object for 3 minutes without any wandering of my mind. So it is now at this time, when I am 24, that I begin to become aware of a slight ability to see an object with my eyes closed. It is a very slight ability, just a queer little feeling that when I close my eyes and look at something hard, with fierce concentration, then I can see the outline of the object I am looking at. Slowly I am beginning to develop my inner sense of sight. You ask me what I mean by that. I will explain it to you exactly as the yogi of hardware explained it to me. All of us, you see, have 2 senses of sight, just as we have 2 senses of smell and taste and hearing. There is the outer sense, the highly developed one, which we always used, and there is the inner one also. If only we could develop these inner senses of ours, then we could smell without our noses, taste without our tongues, hear without our ears, and see without our eyes. Do you not understand? Do you not see that our noses and tongues and ears and eyes are only, how shall I say it, are only instruments which assist in conveying the sensation itself to the brain. And so it is that I am all the time striving to develop my inner sense of sight. Each night I perform my usual exercises with the candle flame in my brother's face. After that I rest a little while. I drink a cup of coffee. Then I blindfold myself and I sit in the chair trying to visualize, trying to see, not just to imagine, but actually to see without my eyes every object in the room. And gradually success begins to come. Soon I am working with a pack of cards. I take a card from the top of the pack and hold it before me, back to front, trying to see through it. Then with a pencil in my other hand, I write down what I think it is. I take another card and do the same thing. Same again. I go through the whole of the pack like that, and when it is over, I check what I have written down against the pile of cards beside me. Almost at once, I have 60 to 70% success. I do other things. I buy maps and complicated navigation charts and pin them up all around my room. I spend hours looking at them blindfold, trying to see them, trying to read the small lettering of the places, names, and the rivers. Every evening for the next 4 years, I proceed with this kind of practice. By the year 1933, that is only last year, when I am 28 years old, I can read a book. I can cover my eyes completely, and I can read a book right through. So now at last I have it. This power, for certain I have it now, and at once, because I cannot wait with impatience, I include the blindfold act in my ordinary conjuring performance. The audience loves it. They applaud long and loud, but not one single person believes it to be genuine. Everyone thinks it is just another clever trick. And the fact that I am a conjurer makes them think more than ever that I am faking. Conjurers are men who trick you. They trick you with cleverness. And so no one believes me. Even the doctors who blindfold me in the most expert way refuse to believe that anyone can see without his eyes. They forget there may be other ways of sending the image to the brain. What other ways? I asked him. Quite honestly, I don't know exactly how it is I can see without my eyes. But what I do know is this. When my eyes are bandaged, I am not using my eyes at all. The seeing is done by another part of my body. Which part? I asked him. Any part at all, as long as the skin is bare. For example, if you put a sheet of metal in front of me and put a book behind the metal, I cannot read the book. But if you will allow me to put my hand around the sheet of metal so that the hand is seeing the book, then I can read it. Would you mind if I tested you on that? I asked. Not at all, he answered. I don't have a sheet of metal, I said, but the door will do just as well. I stood up and went to the bookshelf. I took down the first book that came to hand. It was Alice's Adventure in Wonderland. Classic. I opened the door and asked my visitor to stand behind it out of sight. I opened the book at random and propped it on a chair the other side of the door to him. Then I stationed myself in a position where I could see both him and the book. Can you read the book? I asked him. No, he answered. Of course not. All right. We now put your hand around the door, but only the hand. He slid his hand around the edge of the door until it was within sight of the book. Then I saw the fingers on the hand parting from one another, spreading wide, beginning to quiver slightly, feeling the air like the antennae of an insect. And the hand turned so that the back of it was facing the book. Try to read the left page from the top, I said. There was silence for perhaps 10 seconds. Then smoothly, without pause, he began to read. Have you guessed the riddle yet? The Hatter said, turning to Alice again. No, I give it up, Alice replied. What's the answer? I haven't the slightest idea, said the Hatter. Nor I, said the March Hare. Alice sighed wearily. I think you might do something better with the time, she said, than wasting it in asking riddles that have no answer. It's perfect, I cried. Now I believe you. You are a miracle. I was enormously excited. Thank you, Doctor, he said gravely. What you say gives me great pleasure. One question, I said. It's about the playing cards. When you held up the reverse side of one of them, did you put your hand around the other side to help you read it? You are very perceptive, he said. No, I did not. In the case of the cards, I was actually able to see through them in some way. How do you explain that? I asked. I don't explain it, he said, except perhaps that the card is such a flimsy thing. It is so thin and not solid like metal or thick like a door. That is all the explanation I can give. There are many things in this world, Doctor, that we cannot explain. Yes, I said, there certainly are. Would you be kind enough to take me home now, he said. I feel very tired. I drove him home in my car. To be continued.